Hi, today I want to do a small special about dive watches and how to find a nice dive watch for a small wrist. By what specs do you select a watch if you want to have it on your wrist, on a small wrist? The watches you see are watches I wear quite a lot in the summer time. This one is the SKX013 Seiko. Then you get two Addiesdive watches. This one is the H2, that one is the H9, and then here you have the Orient Kamasu. Now I placed these watches in order of size, case diameter. So this one has a case diameter of 38 millimeters, 39 millimeters, 40 millimeters, and I guess it was 42, but it can also be 41. I'm not sure. Things I look for if I want to have a watch that fits my wrist and looks nice. So the first thing I'm looking at is the case diameter. This one has a case diameter of 38 millimeters, which means I can hardly go wrong with this one. Of course, I also look at the lug to lug because that's the one that's also very, very important. I don't know the lug to lug of this one, but as you can see, it has quite stubby short lugs, so that's also a good thing. What might also be important is the thickness. Now, because these are divers watches, you already expect the watch to be a little bit thick. So this one has a thickness of 12 millimeters, which is actually quite all right. Oh yeah, and there's the third thing. I also try to look at least, where the spring bar is fixed in the lugs. So as you can see here, the holes for the spring bar are quite low on the lugs, which is good because then you don't have the strap extending so high across the side of your wrist. Then what is one of the most important things, I would say, is the way the case is shaped, the way the lugs are shaped. Are the lugs like these, short and stubby, then you can get away with it. Are they long and stubby, you can't get away with it on a tiny wrist. Are they swooping down, and do they have nice sleek lines, then you can get away with a larger case and longer lugs. Is the surface of the watch, is it all flat? Then the diameter of the watch shouldn't be too big. So what you see in this watch is that it has a very flat surface. It has short, stubby lugs on a small diameter case. And that's the reason why this watch wears like it does. I'll now put it on my wrist. So from the top it's quite alright. You won't notice that it's a very big watch, but from the sides it tends to get rather bulky, as you see. Now, because of the case diameter is so small, it's not that big of a problem, because bulky watches do exist, and this is a purposeful watch, I would say. It's a diver's watch, so it has a built-in purpose. And, well, maybe the robust-looking bulkiness of this watch is something you are after in a dive watch, and this watch is quite all right for you. So I kind of like this watch, although it is a little bit bulky. And it has that quite thick cylindrical look to it because of the shape of the bezel and the flat crystal. The next watch I wanted to present is the Flieger, because this one of course is much more like a Flieger than it is a dive watch, although it says it has a 200-meter water resistance, and it is made out to be a dive watch. Well, this watch has quite nice specs on paper. It's 39 millimeters. The lug-to-lug is a bit bigger. It's 50 millimeters wide, which is quite a lot. Actually, it is, well, the most I can handle on my wrist. And it has some curves, as you can see. It does reach downward, so that's very important, because if I would have a lug shape like this on a watch with these lengthy lugs, it won't fit my wrist at all. As you can see, the spring bar is quite high, and that can be a bit of a problem, because that will mean that the strap will be reaching much higher with this watch than it was with the other one. Then again, I'm using a very thin strap, so that is not that much of a problem. And the lugs are shaped in such a way that at least the strap will go in the same direction as the lugs. Now, what is the biggest problem with this watch is not the cylindrical shape. I really like it, actually. But what is the biggest problem is the very big flat surface on the top of the watch. Although this watch has a diameter of 39 millimeters, it looks really wide, almost like a saucer. And together with the lugs, makes this watch the least fitting watch for my wrist. So here we have the strap in place. Now placed on wrist. Like that. And here you see what I mean. It is very wide. Of course it's a Flieger, so for a Flieger I think it's quite alright still. But I wouldn't wear a watch that was bigger than this. As you can see, the lugs are reaching downwards, at least they are shaped like they are reaching downwards. But you see that the strap, well, it's a little bit high. That's because the spring bars are located in a quite high position. And from above, that makes the watch wider, look wider, much wider. It would be better if this watch had the spring bars located much more downwards. Then from the sides and from above, it would have appeared smaller. So yeah, I would say it still fits, but it is really the maximum I can handle on my wrist. Although it's one of the smaller watches. Now, the third watch I want to address is the other Addiesdive, the H9. I think this one wears best on my wrist. Why? It has a 40 millimeter diameter, as I said before. The lug-to-lug of this one is about 46 millimeters, so it has a really short lug-to-lug, and the angles on this watch are really nice. As you can see, it's not just that it droops downwards, it is also, we compare it, the two of them, you see that the spring bar are positioned more in the middle of the lugs, so much more down compared to the other watch. And although the lugs themselves are curved at a steeper angle, it's not that big of a problem because they are shorter. And there's a lot more going on in how they are shaped. You don't have those very edgy lines. Oh, of course you have these edges, but it's much more sleek. Now, this watch is actually the highest of them all. This one has a case thickness of 13 millimeters, and that's because of the domed crystal. Now, as you can see, the domed crystal and the bezel are almost one in how they are sloped. And it makes it look natural, so you don't really have a big problem with how thick this watch is. The bezel actually itself looks quite slim because of the narrow coinage. So here you have a watch with a 40 millimeter diameter, which is quite a lot for my wrist. I can pull it off with, well, just a few watches, but not much. And you see that how these sleek lines really make the watch look a lot smaller. Of course, you have these short lugs that do it as well. But there is just a lot going on, and everything looks quite natural. Last watch is the biggest of them all. It is the Kamasu. Now, I didn't read up on specs before I made this video because it just was a very impulsive thing I did today. But I think this one has a diameter of 42 or 41 millimeters. I don't know for sure. At least it's a tad bigger than the other one. The strap, I can't use the other strap because this has a lug width of 22 millimeters instead of the 20 millimeters the other watches have. And yeah, this is actually the biggest watch I have, I think. There is a little bit of a slope in the bezel, but not that much. There are some slopes on the lugs. The lugs do reach downwards, which is very important for this watch. And if you have a look at where the lugs are positioned, of the spring bar is positioned, it's really at the tip, at the bottom of the watch, which is also very important for this watch when I want to wear it on my wrist. So the lug to lug of the lug to lug actually is rather small. Compared to its size, it has a very small lug to lug. I think it's about 47, if I'm correct. Which would mean that the Flieger, this one, has a bigger lug to lug than that one. That's really how it is. Look at that. So, let's fit it on wrist and have a look at what it looks like. Oh, yeah. So, here you go. Of course, it's on the big side, yeah. It's a bigger watch. It is almost as big as I can handle them. What I do like is that it comes with a 22mm strap. Somehow it makes the watch appear smaller. So yeah, I really liked it actually. I thought it would be a problem, a nuisance on my small wrist, but it's really not. And I like how the spring bars are really far down on the lugs. Makes it feel much more natural to wear this watch. So, what I am looking for if I want to find a fitting dive watch is not only the lug to lug, not only the case diameter, in comparison to the lug to lug, I would say. But maybe what is most important is the shape of the lugs, how short the lugs are, the shape of the lugs, I would say, and the shape of the case overall. So if you have nice lines, nice sleek lines in a watch, if the lugs reach downwards, if there's a lot going on in the watch itself, then you can get away with quite a big watch actually. So thank you very much for your attention, and bye bye.